out.
Sure.
Hey, everybody. I am so excited today for you to meet this person that you've met before, who is very special to Augusta Nation for many reasons, but for one in particular, if he can remember what it is. Tell us your name, where you're from, and what this wonderful thing is about you.
Well, my name is Thomas Salazaar. I'm originally from Florida, from Fort Walton Beach, Florida. It's right outside of Pensacola, Florida, Destin, Florida. It's in the panhandle of Florida, but I am located in the Littleton, Colorado area. And as far as what I'm most remembered by, I'm sure it's a few things, but one of the things would be that I was the very first franchisee in Augusta Lawn Care.
Which is incredible because you took a gamble on Mike and you took a gamble on what he was doing. And I remember that day and how emotional it was for him that somebody would take a gamble and trust in him.
That's interesting because it was emotional for me as well. And yeah, it was great.
So we've had an interview together before, and it was one of the very first ones that I did. It was kind of brief, and now I go into a little bit more detail, but I wanted to go a little bit of a different direction today. I would love for you to be able to share this past year, the highs, the lows, and then as we go into this new year, what your plans are. And first of all, if you could tell us just a little bit about yourself and your childhood and your family, kind of what makes you who you are today.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I have come from a big family, 7 brothers and sisters. So
oh my word.
Yeah. Lots of us. I'm the second oldest. We definitely, I grew up in very humbling settings. We were not very financially well off, to say the least. So there wasn't a lot of people in my household that was able to really speak anything about how to get it ahead in life, how to reach your dreams, how to even really have dreams. There was very little. My mom wasn't very educated. She didn't even have a driver's license. She never had a job. My dad was in the military. He passed away when I was 9.
Oh my word.
Yeah. She remarried a few years after that. So, but the man that she married, he had a great heart. He really did. But he wasn't very educated. He didn't have a driver's license either.
Oh my word.
Yeah. So there wasn't really a lot of, like I said, a lot of role models to kind of help us learn how to get ahead in life. So we kind of had to really just figure things out for ourselves. So it was kind of rough growing up, but I know there's people in this world that have it way, way worse than I ever did. So I'm not complaining at all. But yeah, so that was pretty much my childhood in a nutshell.
So there were probably a lot of times when there wasn't a lot of food for everyone, and everybody was probably diving across the table trying to grab each other's stuff or go really quickly. Dave and I were talking about that this week on an interview, how with there's that many people, he was the littlest person. And it's so hard to find your place in the family and really cement yourself. So was it the same for you? Kind of get lost in the shuffle?
Yeah, I mean, I personally did feel that growing up that, how do I say this? That when there's that many brothers and sisters, it's like, I know you love me, Mom. I know you just intuitively know that, but maybe, I guess there is this sense of, do you love maybe one of them more than me, or how do I get attention or something of that sort? So it definitely, there was some things there that I have been going back and kind of doing some diving in to see some of the mindsets that I have and why they are there. And as far as food goes, yeah, I mean, like I said, we're very poor, so there was always food for everyone. My mom wasn't really the best of cooks, but we did have food one way or another. She always found ways to get food to us, so we never really starved or anything like that. But yeah, there was enough to go around. just enough.
Yeah. For most of us, we just know what we know, and how our life is we don't know any different. So we don't know if it's good or bad, and don't really have an opinion on it. I was listening to Jocko this morning interview a gentleman, and he was saying, well, I always wanted to play hockey, but it was expensive, so we couldn't play hockey. We would chase horses around in our neighborhood, and we loved playing with them, but we never had horseback riding lessons, so we didn't know how to ride them. We rode our bikes down 3 miles to the ocean, and we would wear our jeans. This is all we had. We would flop around in the ocean. We didn't know how to swim, and we would ride our bikes back home. And I thought, wow, some people recognize the difference. Some people get to play. Mike talked about playing golf, but his family didn't have money for him to play golf. And so he felt even out of place because he wore used golf clothes. His golf clubs were not new. And then he was with, of course, a whole different demographic of people that he actually played against. So did you notice any differences, or did you feel deprived at all? Did you recognize that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Very young. I realized it pretty quickly. Going to school, there would be, I definitely noticed big time. There was especially when Christmas came around, I knew it, that definitely shined a light on it even more. I remember there was one Christmas where I just didn't receive anything. Like we didn't have it. And I knew that it wasn't because my mom didn't love us. It's just, it was just too hard for her to figure things out or whatnot. And I always got a sense that there's a better way. There has to be a better way. And I got to figure this out eventually, how to do this. So, and I assumed that money would have solved all of our problems. So yeah, I kind of learned that early on and recognized it. Yeah.
And in your kid mind, how did you think that you could solve this? Did you think you had to go to college? Did you think you just had to get a good job?
I thought I'd just go get a job because there was no, like I said, no one in my family who went to college to show me that path. But I knew so I assumed I have to get a job. I have to. And the town we grew up in, there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities for someone at my age. I finally started working at 15. But before then, I remember just asking like my uncle and other people's like, there's got to be somewhere I can work. Like, can I work somewhere? I need some money. So that, I figured working was one of the only ways it had to be the answer to all of it.
Yeah. So we know your Augusta story, but just kind of establishing the person you are and where you've come from is really necessary to talk about where you are now and going for us. So can you just, as you look at the year end, looking back, do you think it's important that people do a reflection of their year?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, definitely a reflection of your year so you can see what kind of progress you had or what setbacks you had so that you can learn how to move forward after looking back and kind of taking what you've learned from the reflection. Yeah, absolutely.
And when you look at the goals that you had for 2023, did you meet those goals?
No, I definitely did not meet all of my goals. No, I was planning on growing more, but I definitely fell short of that. Yeah.
Did you set revenue goals, like equipment goals, employee goals? How did you set yourself up in the business for your goals last year?
I ended up getting another truck. So we have 4 trucks now. We definitely have the capacity to meet the goals. Employees, we went through quite a few of them. Spring Rush was we go through a lot of employees, and I do my tolerance is a lot lower than possibly some people when it comes to that, because I do want to set the standard and create a place for people that are serious and create opportunities for people and show them the doors. And if you're just here to if I get a sense that you're going to mess that all up, I really don't want you here. So we go through a lot of people, and it's very expensive.
Yes.
So that was definitely one of the things that's a bottleneck for me. And like I said, very expensive. It's a bottleneck. If I'm so busy training and hiring and firing, I have to be in the field training people, because I am not the type that's just going to take your resume or whatnot and say, oh yeah, all right, well, here's the keys of the truck, go take care of things. This is too important.
Yeah.
So I would have to be there to make sure you are who you say you are, and then I will turn you loose. So all that being said, estimates suffered, growing the business, getting more clients suffered, all of that suffered in our most busy time of the year. So that is definitely one of the bottlenecks that I'm really aware of, that I've got to get this part figured out. Employees that come back every year, that last through the winter and are here during the spring, so that I can start passing that responsibility off to someone else, so I can focus on growing this business by getting more clients and work.
I don't want to defer from our goal conversation, but I got to ask you, the employees that do stay, how do they view what you do in that regard of firing fast? Do you find that they have a lot more respect for you, that you hold the standard for their sake?
Oh, I'm sure they do. Yeah. I sometimes am a little concerned that I might be putting a little too much fear out there. Where everyone's really a little concerned. Is this the day? What's he want to talk to me about? But I'm not mean about it. It's just, I give people a heads up. I let them know, listen, this is where you're falling short, unless it's something they really, that's just a deal breaker. Then I'll get them out of there real fast. But I try to give people a heads up. But yeah, it definitely sets the standard. And I'm certain people have a level of respect for that, especially A players. That's what they want, I'm sure.
100%. They appreciate, they don't feel like their job is in jeopardy. They feel like it's more secure because they know how you're going to react in all the situations.
Yeah.
So looking back to last year, then, you feel like you didn't make your revenue goals because of all of these employee issues, the hiring and firing, the expense of that, and then the burden of time, that you weren't able to move the business forward with estimates?
Yeah, I mean, we got quite a few estimates done, but at the same time, they could have gone so much better. I should have definitely spent more time doing follow-ups, but there was this sense of fear of, if I get some of this work, am I going to have the manpower to do it?
Exactly.
Constantly going through people. So that, I take complete ownership of all of it. And I do believe my two biggest setbacks was employees, like getting them trained up and having quality people and retention of them year over year, and then follow-up phone calls. Those two, if I nail those two things down, that'll change everything.
Yeah. What about personal goals last year? I think at the beginning of the year, you started 75 hard with some of the other franchisees, didn't you?
I did. It became a little much for me, and I did not want to say I was doing it when I wasn't doing it. And yeah, it became a lot. And between that and the things at work, I started becoming stretched a little too thin.
Yeah. What was it about it that it was very hard for you? What was the one thing that in that list of things you had to do and not do?
I think it was the working out twice a day. That was the hardest part. Once a day, I could handle that most times. But twice a day was a little rough. And there'd be some days where I wouldn't be able to work out even once a day.
Exactly.
You could if you really, really wanted to. I guess I just really, really didn't. If I'm completely honest. Like, you know what? No, I'd rather go focus on this other thing.
Or you'd rather sleep for just a few minutes longer.
Yeah.
It's hard to be patient, and it's hard to be peopling if you don't have enough sleep.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there for sure.
Yeah. So when some people think of New Year's resolutions, they think that is just the stupidest thing, and that people are setting themselves up for failure, and they never even are visionary at all. Like, I've asked people before, oh, did you set any New Year's resolutions? And they're like, no, I mean, I'm just going along in life. How do you feel about that?
I mean, if that's what somebody wants to do, to change their life or become better, then more power to them. They should do that. I'm more on the school of thought that, I could do that today. I could do it tomorrow. I don't have to wait until a New Year's or some day on the calendar. I can just do it. But like I said, if some people need that or they want that, if that helps motivate them, giving them a date on the calendar that's 2 weeks out or whatever it might be at that time, then hey, good for them. I'm just more of the, we can do this now. Let's not push this off.
Have you ever had times in your life that you itemize out what your goals are and really stuck to them for a year, or does it usually fizzle out after a little bit?
I mean, there will be times where I'll definitely write goals down. And as far as fizzling out, the 75 hard fizzled out. There's a couple other workout programs I try to get into, and I do exercise. As far as sticking to some strict schedule, that's just a little challenging for me. Yeah, I've learned about myself. I like to be flexible. And I guess sticking to a strict schedule has always been, it might have always been challenging for me. And it might have something to do with the way I grew up. I moved out of my house when I was 15, had issues with school, things like that. Just anyone telling me what to do, started my own business.
Yeah, you go.
Sticking to a strict schedule that someone else put for me, it's like I think I do struggle with that. But as far as me making a list of goals, I try to stay on them. I do appreciate having a little more flexibility than something real rigid.
I have sensed and seen a lot of growth in you in the last couple years. And when I first thought I would like to ask a couple franchisees if they felt like hopping on and just doing a review of last year, and you were the first person I thought of. And I thought, I don't know what it is exactly, what changes that Thomas has made, but just growing as a person, your communication with the franchisees, the way you'll handle yourself in business. It just seemed like there was some growth there. And I didn't even get to see you for conference, which was terribly disappointing. But we miss you, and we will do it at a better time for your schedule this coming year. But do you sense that about yourself, that in the last couple of years you've had a lot of personal growth?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I contribute that to definitely Augusta, having the Facebook group, the masterminds, all of the other Augustinians, however it's pronounced. Yeah, having them, just being surrounded by that, and constantly being exposed to all the information, the business itself keeping me in line, dealing with those ups and downs and constantly solving problems, keeping your mind sharp. Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you feel like the masterminds are beneficial?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Do you always try to listen to them and kind of keep up to date with things?
I may not be able to listen to them live, but I don't think I've missed a single mastermind as far as listening to them goes.
Yeah, that's what I try to do. What was funny is Mike said the other day, he said, I don't even have the nerve to go back and listen to some of the very first ones, but it would be fun to see how far we've come and the kind of things we addressed as Augusta Nation back then as to now, Oh,
yeah. Yeah. No, they're great. They're definitely they're huge.
Yeah, I appreciate them too. And I appreciate that I can see a pattern of things happening with owners and then just say, hey, when you jump on the mastermind today, can you say this or remind them of this or something? So that's really nice too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So looking over the past year and all your business and your personal change, how do you feel you've grown as a leader?
How have I grown as a leader? Well, in the beginning of the business, it was more of the team members had a little bit more power, and I think they sensed that.
I agree.
And that has completely flipped. So that's one part for sure. I'm more confident in my decision making process. I think everyone sees that. And like I said, I mean, it just the company above all else. And I'll remind people in a not in a harsh way, but that no one is above the mission. Not even me. I let them know I can be replaced too. So we all have to bring our best. And I think that's definitely gotten stronger as time has passed.
Do you feel like you had to remove yourself a little bit from closeness or a little bit more on the friendship side to take a stand like that?
Yeah. I don't think I've really, as far as being in business through Augusta, I don't think I've done the whole like try to be buddy with everybody. I've tried to keep that line. So I think what's changed is they've seen that I've become a lot more set in these are the rules and that's how it is kind of thing.
Yeah. So when you started at the beginning of last year and then you made these changes, did you feel like you were kind of run over a little bit before you finally decided, I just got to say, and I just got to handle stuff right away and I got to stick to my guns?
Yeah. I think it was just more of a scarcity mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I lose this person, how hard is it going to be to find someone else? And all
Right.
the time and training I put into them, and I got to go through that all over again. And that was just a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
How I'll get someone on the bench and start working on getting them built up just in case something happens. In fact, I kind of assume something's going to happen for the most part. And maybe that might not be the healthiest mindset either, but I'm constantly, I want the best for everyone and I hope they work out. But if they don't, I'm not going to take it personally.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I talked to one of the franchisees yesterday and he had watched our training has gotten so much better than when you guys first started, when we first started, and the miserable training that you guys got to see.
It wasn't that bad.
Well, he has seen some of the newer training and he said what it did was I just realized I haven't towed the line. And you know how we say that firing is the standard. So whatever you put up with, if you don't fire them, then you're just, party to the crime. You're just letting it continue on. And he said, my main guy, my GM, is showing up without a uniform. He shows up 5 minutes, 15 minutes late. And he said, hearing you guys say that firing is the standard, that you should be there when they start the day, you should be there when they end the day. And he said, I don't do that. And he's like, how do I change? And I'm like, well, you apologize that you didn't hold up the standard. And then you say, this is the standard and this is what we're going to do. And he's like, they might quit. I said, they might. But like you said, you got to have a plan almost, knowing they likely will once you put your foot down and have a standard. So I appreciate you saying that. It is so difficult to hold the standard high on some of the hard things that we really put out there in Augusta Nation.
Yeah, it can be. But at the end of the day, and I can see how that it can be challenging in the beginning, like it was for me. You are nervous, wanting not to lose people because we need the people to get the work done because we can't do it all ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And people can sense that when
Yes.
they're needed. And some people will take advantage of that. Some people won't. But as you get more comfortable with it, as you do it more reps and everything, you learn to just of what's coming and what's possible that could happen, and you just kind of prepare accordingly. And action is worry's worst enemy. So as long as you're constantly doing something to hedge against these possibilities, and then you can confidently set the standard and stick to it.
Have you found that you are more confident now that you have set the standard and are holding to it?
Yeah, I am, but it just seems like sometimes I will ask myself, did I set some of these standards so high?
Yeah.
It's hard to keep people. And maybe, and I'll question myself, do I need to like give a little bit of leniency in maybe certain areas, not across the board by any means? and then show people what's possible and give them a chance to become better instead of, just show up and you got to have it all figured out right when you get here, kind of thing.
Do you have other franchisees in your area close by that you are on a WhatsApp group with or stay in communication?
Yeah, I stay in communication with a few of them. And as far as close by goes, Garrett is right there. We actually share a yard space.
No way.
Yeah. So I get to see him in action with some of his team members as well. So we talk the most of all of the franchisees because I see them all the time.
That's interesting. So do your territories overlap some and you have to always keep splitting them up as well?
He's still in a solo model. So okay. He's kind of venturing off all over the map.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, we're definitely butting against each other in that regard. But even if he were to, once he moves into the growth model, his location is pretty much right there against mine, where my location is. So that's a bit of a challenge. What's that?
That's a bit of a challenge.
As far as work getting mixed up?
Yeah, like the clients that are in his CRM now, would he have to, the ones that are in your space, would he have to give those clients to you? Even if he buys, so your territory's here and his comes right up against yours. I mean, in general, does that seem like the thing that would have to happen? Or do the two owners, they have to have a good working relationship to kind of split that up because the demographic changes once they become a growth model?
Yeah, I mean, so I keep my territory. I won't drive outside of my area. And I joke with them often about, listen,
I'm sure.
Let me catch you in my area. I got to joke with them about it. So we don't really have that problem. We have a really good relationship.
That's good. Do you think that is a trait of people in Augusta Nation, that they kind of try to figure stuff out together and realize that they are really better together in the growth of both of their businesses?
Yeah, and we definitely enjoy, I'm pretty sure Garrett would agree to this, that we enjoy being able to back and forth with each other, and we're learning from each other. No, it's a big advantage for sure.
So do you feel like if something personal happened in either of your lives, the other one could probably jump in as long as you're both in the systems and be able to help each other?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So do you feel like you follow the systems pretty closely?
I think so, for the most part. Not the follow-up process last year, but that is going to change this year.
Yeah. So at Command Center, we have what's called an a la carte menu now. So people can choose all the items they want or they don't want. Some things people are more confident to do themselves, or they aren't confident in Command's skills to do. So they feel like they're better at it. So they keep those and then they give the ones they don't want to Command. So with your current growth and your guys, how much do you feel like you need to utilize the full service items?
Well, during the spring rush and our busy seasons, I try to pass as much of that off to Command Center as possible. Yeah, pretty much anything that has to do with administrative work and that kind of thing. Command Center is really one of the things that I don't know if it gets brought up enough, but that is definitely one of the biggest advantages of Augusta. Yeah.
Do you feel like they've gotten a little better over time as we all Augusta nationwide, as we all get better at everything we do?
Sure. Yeah. Everything in Augusta is getting better as time goes by.
Yeah. Were you a little apprehensive about all the changes that happened within Augusta Nation in 2023? Did that scare you a little bit?
Not really. No, I believe that Mike has good people like yourself, Lee, and everyone else involved, working up at Command Center and at the mothership and all of that. So I believe I believe it's in great hands. I am not concerned at all. No.
And how did you feel when we brought this AI guy on? Was that really like, oh my word, absolutely no way? Or is it something that over time that you feel like it will improve enough that it will be beneficial to everyone?
Are we talking about Max?
Max.
Well, it's just like everything else that's brand new. When it shows up brand new, we know there's going to be, it's never going to roll out perfect.
Nope.
That's everything. So
Yes.
I understand that. And I know whatever shows up that's brand new, it's in the best interests of the franchisees and the company and the brand and what we're doing. So whatever hiccups come along with that in the beginning, I'm fine with that. I'll accept it. Yeah, because I know it will get better either way.
Get better. Yeah. How has your transition into Copilot been? How long have you been in Copilot? 2 weeks or something?
Yeah, since the beginning of the year. So I waited to the last moment because I knew that'd be our slowest time of year, and figured that'd be the time for me to sit in front of the computer and learn and have make the transition. As far as how am I doing with it? It's just like everything else is new. Learning something new can be challenging, takes time. But like I said, I know in the end it'll be worth it.
Yeah, that's a great attitude. So, to the upcoming year, how have you set yourself up to succeed in your personal life, in the business?
So, my personal life, I definitely want to be a little more mindful of eating better. I need to get a sleep tracking device to really pay attention to my sleep because I know that's super important. So my physical health is really important. Definitely continue to work more on spiritual growth, mental growth, those kind of things. As far as financial, I'm in a pretty good position nowadays, and it's by no means the end of where I'm, my end goal.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's where I'm at on that. As far as the business goes, the main things I want to focus on the most is those bottlenecks I talked about, is really focusing on team, getting people in here that buy into the vision, that want to stick around, and that want to move up the ranks, and so that I can focus on the things that will grow this business, sales and follow-up calls. Those are the big things for me.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the big ones.
Well, one good thing about that is Command has gotten better at follow-up calls, and we have a whole team that does them. So when you get swamped, we might be able to help a little bit with that goal.
And I appreciate that, but at the same time, I know it's something I need to. I dropped the ball last year, and I got to make up for it. Just for
you will sell way more if you do them yourselves. That's what we talked about here at the franchisee training. Nobody cares as much as you.
Yeah, and I got the upfront information. I've just looked at the property. It only makes sense that I'm the one calling them directly and answering any of the questions that could pop up that Command Center just may not have the answer to right away.
Totally. So are you going to be in profit mode or growth mode this year?
So it might be a weird little blend just because we have the asset capacity to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to get past 500 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Have the assets. So it might be a weird little hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have to choose in order to get to 500, then I will. If I got to spend a bunch of money to get there, then we'll do that.
That's great.
Not, but I will.
Yeah. Are you out of the field at this point, just doing estimates and growing the business?
No. I'm still inside, still in the field, not 100%, but probably about 60%, something like that.
So once you train someone, do you train them with yourself and then you send them out to the guys, or do you have a guy that trains them and then they get put on solo routes?
So just depending on what we're talking, if it's mowing, because I do have a guy who's still hanging around and he really wants to be here. When it comes to mowing, I will gladly be able to let him do that. When it comes to the projects and things, I still have to be involved currently and get everybody trained up before I send them loose.
Yeah. What's the ratio between your recurring mows and your projects?
It's usually, well, during the summer months, and in the spring when mowing's really going hard and heavy. It's probably about 70%, 60, 70 mowing and recurring.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you have your guys split up. Some of them are just doing mows, or do you cross the two lines with all of your guys?
So depending on the situation, because like I said, I will have a lot of people in the spring. And
yeah, like how many? 10?
Yeah, there'll be times where we'll have 10, and I'll throw people on mowing, and then I will go do projects with people, and just to get these jobs done and get things moving along and try to train at the same time. But yeah, there will come a point to where we may need to have a division, like we're projects and this is recurring services. But right now it's definitely a hybrid situation.
Yeah. When you think of next year and what you were saying earlier about your personal, your mental, your spiritual, how do you set yourself up for success with the mental and the spiritual? Do you say, I'm going to listen to this many Audible, I'm going to try to digest more of this particular minister or podcast or group of people? We have business things that we listen to all the time, but for your personal self and your personal growth, what do you do for that?
There's a couple of people I'll listen to. I also listen to some church sermons or whatnot from our local churches, and maybe some from back home or whatnot. I listen to some of those sometimes. There's some like therapist type and relationship advice people on like YouTube or whatnot, but I'll listen to some of those things as well. So as far as like certain names, it just depends on when I start listening to something, if it's really connecting with me, and I'll just continue listening to whatever it is they're talking about and try to get some nuggets out of it.
So as for goals, did you set yourself up like, I feel like I'm so fed spiritually here, or I feel like this really helps my mental health? Do you have like a certain amount you're going to listen to, or are you going to listen to every single morning, or any pattern like that you're setting yourself up to get better throughout the year?
I just kind of, I could get better at really making a definitive schedule in that regard. I'm kind of just, what am I in the mood for? Because sometimes I don't want to listen to anything. I just need to be with myself because there's just too much information coming in. So yeah, but I do try to listen to some. I try to listen to only positive things for the most part. Now I will say I do listen to a little bit of politics things, and that's probably poisoning my mind a little bit.
That's the most negative thing you listen to?
Yeah, that is by far the most negative thing I listen to. Yeah. But I try to listen to positive things every day, at least I'll put in at least 30 minutes at minimum of something positive that's outside of business.
So what kind of tools are you going to use this year to keep yourself motivated for work and inside Augusta Nation?
What kind of tools am I going to use?
Yeah.
To keep me focused
and motivated.
That's going to be a big one. That'll.
No kidding.
Just kind of. I mean, so I have my YouTube's podcast, all that stuff. I have the Team Up app for setting up calendars and all that kind of stuff. So those are some of the tools that I use.
Yeah. And so it sounds like you actually utilize a lot of the benefits of Augusta Nation, or the masterminds and the Facebook group and that kind of thing. Do you find, I think a few years ago, didn't Mike assign people to other people inside Augusta Nation at our conference? And you got paired with like 5 other people that were in different stages of growth. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So I wonder how many of those groups actually kind of dissolved, or if those guys kind of keep track of each other anymore. Do you keep track of your guys?
It's been a while since I spoke with some of them. It was myself, it was Marcus, it was Tim, and it was Chuck. So I really had a pretty big, pretty major group. And I should have nurtured those relationships a lot more than I did. I kick myself for that. Yeah. But I can still reach out to them.
Yeah, true. It's so fun to see all the progress of each other and how we've grown in Augusta Nation.
Yeah.
So, as we draw to a close, could you share a little bit of encouragement to other people? You've been down this road, what, 3 years or more? 4?
Yep. This will be, let's see, 21, 2, 3. This is the beginning of the 5th year here.
Wow. So, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Focus more on the team as far as just really focusing on that. Focus more on winter services, getting that built up. Those are the 2 main things for sure.
Do you have snow there in the winter?
Oh yeah. It's snow out there right now. Yeah.
So do you offer any snow services?
I have been on the fence for that for a little while, and it was because of the whole employee situation. My concern, because that is super time sensitive.
It is.
Mowing grass, you can put that off a day or 2 if you need to. But when it comes to snow, it is so time sensitive. And my concern is if people were to call in or whatnot, it is only then I will have to be the one to try to do all of it. And I'm only one person.
Yeah.
So that was my main concern.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep going back and forth with that. I will say I'm gonna do it, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that. And then I'm gonna do it. Like right now, I think it's probably 7 degrees outside.
Oh my word!
Yeah, this morning it was like negative something, and there's snow on the ground. So we'd be out there doing it, and I can already see people be like, oh, I don't want to come in today. And
totally.
So I'm on the fence about that. So we'll see. I know I need to just commit or not, or just make a decision. Garrett does it. He likes it, but I do see that. I think he might be thinking about getting out of it down the road.
Yeah, it's not all it's cracked up to be. I confess.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's all it's cracked up to be.
No, for sure. So any encouragement do you want to share with other people in Augusta Nation or other people thinking of joining?
Augusta Nation has been awesome. I would not trade that in for anything. I've even told people that's worked for me before, if I were to open a location back home in Florida, which I would love to do, which is something I want to do, but when and if that time comes, even having all the information I have being in Augusta for the whole time I've been here, I would still do it through Augusta, even though I wouldn't need to.
Right.
But I would, because it would be silly of me not to, because of all the advantages we have in Command Center and everything. It would be silly of me not to. So yeah, joining Augusta is just, it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, me too. I think I'll stick around too.
Yeah.
So do you have a quote or anything you want to share with us at the end?
I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and it all circles back to the quote that I mentioned to you before, because that one has been stuck with me forever. And it basically is, we all see the world through our particular lens, mm-hmm. and that dictates our actions. Mm-hmm. So, be careful of what beliefs you cling to. What may have served you in the past may be holding you back today. Mm-hmm. Free will is a beautiful thing. So allow yourself to have different perspectives, a different outlook. And everyone has something to teach you, and you have something to teach everyone. So if you really want to change your life, you have got to change your mindset and don't cling on to old beliefs. So it's pretty much the same thing as I said before.
No, that is easier said than done, but it is so true.
Yeah. I'm still working on that every day.
Well, I hope you have a very successful year. I have a great feeling about 2024 and all the changes we're making at Augusta. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be great to see all that happens in all of our businesses.
Yeah, no, I have high hopes. I'm very confident this year. I am excited, and I can't wait to see what it does for me and everyone else. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
exactly. Well, I'll let you go. Thanks so much, and you have a great day.
Thank you, Liz.